amassed a collection of things here. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer there or further away so we can see what's going on. I see that we have Wendy Hickson here, Aunt Cindy Skinks, Frank the Tank, Vance or Item 13, Lake to Land Aquatics Plus, Emily Wilson, David Jack, Kearns 28. Oh, Vance, thanks for the super sticker. Awesome. Appreciate that. Perfect. Zero Cool is here as well. Nyotaro and Therapod Hunter. Fantastic. I see Therapod Hunter, that you were a member. I see your icon there, your isopod, showing that you were a member. So that's fantastic. I see Marimba Girl, HS, Tennyson Kingsley here as well, and 503 Menagerie. Perfect. We got a lot of awesome folks here to get started. And let's take a look at this. This relates to Vance, or Item 13's questions for today. So let me pull up the questions, Patreon questions, and we'll get going. Okay, so Vance had a question about fungus gnats. So Vance said, hey Russ, any tips for getting rid of fungus gnats in an isopod bin without risking harm to the pods? Or springtails have an annoying infestation. My Peacekeeper colony and my others seem to have them yet. And he said maybe a potted sundew, and may have seen my Instagram post recently. This is a sundew. This is Drosera capensis, and this is a carnivorous plant that eats fungus gnats. If you look closely at some of the leaves, let's see, right there is a fungus gnat, and there are many others on the plant. That's just the easiest one for me to show you. I think there's actually one on this leaf too, right behind it. Fungus gnats. These leaves have a sticky secretion that captures fungus gnats. It appears to attract fungus gnats too. You can see some on the other leaves here. The focus is just slightly off. I'm trying to work on that, but there are fungus gnats all over the plant, and the plant digests them, being a carnivorous plant. Many of the little specks that you see on the leaves, where there's a little bunch of something, are fungus gnats that have been captured. And I just bought this plant, I believe it was Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday. So today is Wednesday, and it's captured a lot of fungus gnats. And incidentally, fungus gnats are drowning down in the water well down here. So the way this plant works, and this is like I said, it's carnivorous plant from the genus Drosera. Drosera capensis is pretty fantastic. So I see we've got a super sticker from Emily Wilson. Thank you so much, Emily. Welcome back. Glad to see you back with the super chat. Fantastic. Yotaro, do I know if Drosera is harmful to cats? I don't know. That would be a good thing to look for. So I will see if I can look into that and see. They are very sticky. These you can't really see them very well. You can kind of see the little hairs, and each of those has a little drop of sticky secretion on the end of it, and the cat might get sticky. I don't know if they're dangerous. If someone wants to do a quick search for Drosera capensis toxicity, we might get just some cursory information. But when I do a quick search, it says not toxic to cats. But that's good. Good to know. So yeah, so Drosera capensis, also known as the octopus plant or the Cape sundew, it eats fungus gnats, and the fungus gnats get trapped on the plant, and they get trapped down here. If you want to know how to care for these plants, are super easy if you have the right things. You need a little container underneath to hold distilled water or other water with very, very low dissolved minerals, like RO water would probably work too, rainwater, something like that. You need to keep the minerals very low. Need some fairly bright light. So if you have like an eastern window, that's probably sufficient. I have it in a northern window, and then I have some LED lights suspended above it, plant growing lights. So that should be perfectly fine. I've grown these before. I just haven't had one for a while. And back in the day, when I had one, we had to rely on normal light because LED lights weren't growing plants very well back then. So it's been a while. And now you can get LED lights very inexpensively that grow plants very well. So this other one we had in I think it was a western facing window that had like diffuser on the window, so it wasn't like cooking the plant. Did pretty well there for years until it got an aphid infestation. So that was why it passed away. But these are great. Looking forward to some biocontrol of almost dropped it there. Biocontrol of fungus gnats with that. So I just put the plant over there because I'm going to show you what's going on here, but I just spilled distilled water. So I have to pick that up because I want to thoroughly answer Vance's question. So let's get to it. Okay. So first of all, well, second of all, because we just talked about the plant, so this is called a Raid fly ribbon. There are other brands, but the fly ribbon is the important thing. Not toxic, it's just sticky. You can see it has this little loop of plastic, and basically you carefully pull on this little loop of plastic, and then a little lid pops out of here, and there's a little tack there, you can see, metal tack. And you carefully pull it out and unwind this ribbon, and it hangs. And then you use the tack to stick it through this little loop and then attach it to the ceiling, something like that. I usually use the ceiling. And then you just hang this fly ribbon. It's non-toxic, but it is attractive to fungus gnats, and they will stick to it, or they will be trapped and they will die. And then you throw it away and you do it again. You leave it up for a few weeks. It's very sticky, so don't bump up against it and get your hair in it or your clothes on it or your skin on it. If you do, use something oily like olive oil or something to get it off. Then I recommend you take something like a paper bag or a plastic bag or a piece of newspaper or something to wrap it up as you're collecting it and pull it off the ceiling and put a new one there. So you can use these. They work really well for fungus gnats as well. One of my favorite things to use against fungus gnats, besides the Sundew, is this. This is called a catchy. This one is plugged in, so I'm going to show you something here. See how it's changing? It's because the light, I'm putting my hand over it. It has a light sensor on it. When it gets dark, it turns on. And when there's enough light, it turns off. There are different settings. It's got an automatic mode and a manual mode. On manual mode, it just turns on and off based on the switch. And maybe you can hear that fan running. I don't know if you can hear that. But if you hit automatic mode, then it turns on based on how much light it's getting. So what's happening is it's got a UV light that attracts bugs, and that also turns on a fan. And the fan creates gentle suction down towards the center of the trap. And let me show you what goes on in that trap. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to unplug it to be able to do that. Okay, so now the trap is unplugged. It's not going to work. You open it. It has this little button here on the side, and you push it. And look what we've got here. Got a few moths, a mosquito or something like that. Looks like it's probably a mosquito. A couple of moths, and tons of fungus gnats trapped on this paper. So I saved this on purpose. I know it's disgusting. I probably should have given you a dead bug trigger warning. But you remove that and throw it away. And then you take, well, if you buy it from the catchy, they send you these. And this has like a peel back right here. And then it's very sticky underneath. But what I have done is use these as a template, because these are the refills for this are expensive. And I just get the yellow sticky traps for use for fungus gnats. Online, these are double-sided, which is awesome because the originals are not double-sided. And they're a fraction of the price of the originals. And you just peel back this paper on one side, and then you drop it in, you snap it shut, and you plug it in. And you have got a trap. Run that for a week or 2 weeks or so. You can do a little longer, a little less, depending on how many you're catching. And I'm going to hit the automatic mode. It's going to be on again. Now, this will run catching the bugs at night when they're more likely to be caught. And then you flip it over, use the paper that you took off the second side underneath it to keep the sticky side from touching the bottom of the thing. I use it again and then pull it out and throw it away. Fantastic at catching fungus gnats, as you saw. I bought mine on Amazon. There are links in the description to many of the things I'm talking about today. The links in the description of this video, so check it out. This is the catchy Auto Magic trap. I have links again in the description. I have links to the fly ribbons. I have links to this stuff to save a lot of money on these traps. And there's one more thing I'm going to show you. I'm going to put a critter. I'm going to put a critter down because I don't want it to be boring as I talk about this. I see we've got a donation from Mr. and Mrs. Morelia. We've got a super chat. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. and Mrs. Morelia. Great to have you back as well. Looking forward to chatting with you throughout the live stream. And says, carnivorous plants are very interesting, but we are hit and miss on plant parroting. The catchy flycatcher is easier. Yes, you don't have to worry about watering it or anything like that. So that may be a good option for you if you find plant parenting to be a little bit more challenging once in a while. So yeah, I would highly recommend the catchy auto magic trap. Link in the description once again, everybody. It is great. So while we're looking at these, just explain one more control method that you can use for fungus gnats, and that is, well, I'm going to explain two more. One is in the description, one I haven't put in there yet, and it is called the fungus gnat rove beetle, Dalotia coriaria or Atleta coriaria are the names, the scientific names that it is used to refer to it, and it is a very, very small beetle that a rove beetle. So the rove beetle is a long, thin-bodied, flexible-bodied beetle, and it's very small. It's probably only maybe 2 or maybe 3 times the length of a fungus gnat, and a bit wider, but still a pretty small bug. They can fly, and if you introduce them into your isopod bins, they will eat fungus gnats. People worry about them eating springtails, but if they do eat springtails, it hasn't been a problem for me. I find that I don't know whether or not I have any beetles anymore. I don't see them very often, but when I got those and the catchy magic trap, I got them pretty close to each other. I didn't use the catchy magic trap until I had allowed the beetles to establish, because they will get caught in them, and if you don't have a decent population, you're going to kill them all that way. I don't know what the correlation was, but I asked my wife what she thought how the reduction in fungus gnats was when I did those two things, and she said probably about 90–95%. So pretty fantastic. Now, the other thing was that I was going to talk about. The other thing that I was going to talk about is mosquito bits. Mosquito bits are used in places like bird feeders and ponds to control mosquitoes. They also happen to control fungus gnats. What you do is you take the mosquito bits and soak them in purified water. You don't heat the water, don't do anything like that, but use purified water so there's chlorine. The chlorine is not killing the bacteria you want to preserve. Soak them in water. Use that water to water your isopod hydration stations. Don't dump it on the isopods directly. That seems to cause some issues, but you just put them in, you just put it in the hydration station. Just don't pour it directly on the isopods. And what these bacteria do is they cause problems with the digestive system of the fungus gnats, and it kills them. And so there are people who use those to, that one control method alone, to just completely eliminate fungus gnats. I have only experimented with it a little bit, but it sounds like a really good way to do it. Just make liquid. And Mr. and Mrs. Murley, those apple-shaped traps, yes, I've used those as well. You can use apple cider vinegar, a drop or two of dish soap. If you want to catch other things like house flies, add a little sugar to it. So they are fantastic. Oh, Kearns 28. Maybe it was. They look a little bit like an earwig in general body shape, so it could be a robe beetle. And Aunt Sandy's Kings. I haven't been using the bits recently. I've experimented with them in the past, and it does kill the larval stages. So you do need to reapply, like CoroWorks is saying. You do need to reapply. I think if you use it to moisten your isopod hydration station like every 10 days or so, that should be enough. So sorry to hear some of you are having difficulties. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of lag on my end too, and I don't know what's going on with that. But let me know how it goes. I know I missed a lot of the chat. The Sundew plant before that I showed was Drosera capensis. It's the Cape Sundew, also known as the octopus plant. Really close to each other. And we did a trade in which Tennyson got some some Porcelio Hoffmannsegei Black, and I got some credit and some Wisman mealworms, which Wisman mealworms are a giant, selectively bred mealworms, part of the breeding. Super chat, isopods, many kinds of be careful. How the enclosure, they can kill isopods with maybe potentially using up too much oxygen, but that they'd have to be really too much of an issue, and it's not uncommon in new cultures. Let's see, picture on Instagram or something, and I can give you a little bit more. Let's see. That's horrible. So it should change. Currently researching for a monthly challenge I'm doing with friends called Insectuary. Make sure to include isopods. Sound intriguing. I'd love to hear more about that. Sounds pretty cool. And please, everyone, give me updates on how the audio and video is going if you can. Because I don't know how bad it's getting. I can't really tell. You see, Aunt Sandy Skink is saying loud. That's not cool. And I'm sorry that there's nothing much I can do about it. Ooh. So apparently everybody is having this issue, huh? That's too bad. Blame waffles. Well, one thing that we wanted to talk about today, here's a bunch of Porcelio Hoffmannsegei Black. One thing that we wanted to talk about today was Alina's question. Alina was asking a question about 7-inch by 4-inch enclosure. So what kind of things to put in it, and was thinking about some yellow springtails. I think in a 7-inch by 4-inch enclosure, that's not a bad idea. I think you could do a lot worse than that. Yellow springtails should be fun to watch, and that container would be perfectly adequate for them long term. You might get to the point where you need to split the culture, but you could still keep a lot of the original culture in there and just keep it going indefinitely that way, changing substrate and so on. Probably not change all the substrate at once, just change some of it here and there. But yeah, I think that would be a great option. Just for some perspective, I'm going to pull it up here and see if we can do it. I have a bunch of enclosures that are about